Hey there! So my Zoom L-8 just arrived in the mail, and I just opened the box a few minutes ago, and I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about why I made the purchase, why I bought this piece of equipment. I'm not going to go into like all the specs and details about how the thing works, you know, in every detailed way, because there are some people out there that do really good versions of those kinds of videos, and I'm just not going to worry about that. What I want to do is tell you exactly what I might be using this kind of thing for and how it will affect my workflow as a musician and a producer and a YouTube content creator. And I think this will be a very useful piece of equipment for my setup and my workflow because of some of the very unique things that it does that other systems don't really do. So let me open the box first and see what's inside, see what it comes with. Okay. It comes with the iPhone wire, so you can plug your phone into it, you know, the TRRS thingy. You can plug your phone directly in and get sound out of your phone into here, as well as use it as, I think it will send its signal back to the phone, so when you're calling somebody, you can use your microphone to call them or whatever. It's actually kind of a cool thing. And then here's a USB, you know, USB-A to micro USB that comes in there, and then the adapter, I believe. Let me see. Oh yeah, it's just it's just a little USB, you know, wall wart kind of, what do they call those things? Kind of thing. So that's how this thing is powered, and which is really interesting because this thing, this is a mixing board and a recorder, and it all runs on just the small amount of power that you need to run anything that runs on USB. It's, I think, I don't know, a couple amps or something. 5 volts, 1.0 amps. So this thing only draws 1 amp. Wow. Well, that's amazing for a piece of equipment that does as much as this thing does. Yeah, that's everything in the box. So they really advertise this thing as a podcaster's kind of piece of equipment. The board for creators, podcasting, music, and beyond. Whoa! Great catchphrase. Anyway, they've made this with podcasters in mind, I think. And there's one piece of equipment out already that's very similar to this, called the Rodecaster. Or is that the microphone? Anyway, Rode, you know, the company that makes the camera microphones and really nice shotgun microphones and stuff, they make a kind of similar piece of equipment, a mixer type thing that's designed to be used to record podcasts. The thing is, the Zoom, I did not buy that one, and I wasn't really interested in buying that one. The reason I bought this one is because there are a lot more capabilities in this piece of equipment. This thing can do a lot more for, I believe it's $100 or $200 less. This thing is $400. I think the Rode version of this is about $600. Granted, the Rode one has a nicer, bigger screen, but that's about it, honestly. Some of the buttons are bigger on it, but I wanted the piece of equipment that could actually do more. So the reason I bought the Zoom LiveTrak L8 is because I make a lot of videos that are kind of music production videos, and I have not actually made as many as I want to make because I've always hated having to run audio out of the computer into a recorder and then record my voice on a separate system and try and get those to line up afterwards and have them come out all the right volumes and everything. The problem, like a real big sticking point for me in making music production videos in the past has been the audio. And this thing will actually function as a recorder. It will record, you can just hit a record button over here, separately from your computer, while at the same time you can use it as an audio interface, which means you can plug instruments and microphones in here and record into your DAW while having a backup recording, a second recording, completely separate on the SD card. I believe you plug it in right there. Which means I can record the process of recording music and share it with you guys and put it on a video without having to go, only the end format, or without having to get a separate audio recording system recording whatever comes into my computer as its own thing, like a different. So this kind of puts everything in one box. I really enjoyed a video recently by a YouTube creator, and I believe he's a filmmaker. His name is Gerald Undone. He made a video about asking if it's a good idea or what people thought about using one piece of equipment to do everything, basically, to put all of your audio needs in one piece of equipment instead of using multiple pieces of equipment. And I thought that was a really cool video. I liked the concept a lot. The only trouble was he used a piece of equipment that's designed for out in the field filmmaking recording. And it's a beautiful piece of equipment. It's actually also made by Zoom. It's designed to be compact. It's designed to be small, and not really designed to be a sit down at your computer kind of piece of equipment. This thing, on the other hand, it doesn't have some of the really high-end audio capabilities that piece of equipment he was demonstrating has, but it has so many more I/O options, in-out options, and it's so much more easily controllable here with the faders and stuff. And there's actually knobs for things on this. That this is, I believe, as far as I can find, the kind of ultimate record everything that you're doing piece of equipment, including sound out from the computer. So what I didn't mention a few minutes ago was that this has a USB in, meaning you plug it into your computer, use it as an audio interface, but you can also send the output from your computer back into this thing as like an instrument, like right here. It says there's a little button here that says USB 1, 2, or 3, 4. So you can send up to 4 tracks out from your computer back into this thing and have that go into your recorder here, as well as out the output, so you can plug in your speakers and whatnot. So what that means is I can then do what I said before. I can plug in an instrument and record some songs and whatever, and you get the behind the scenes of the recording the songs. But I can also do audio production in the computer. You can hear the drum playback or whatever while I'm playing the bass, even though it's coming from the computer. And I don't need a separate wire. I don't need another interface. It all goes through one USB wire, which plugs in here, actually. So this thing kind of goes in there and wraps around and comes out the back. So that to me is what really ended the question of whether I need this thing or not. Like when I made the video recently trying to break down the 4 producers track that I made, it took me forever to set up the audio and to get it to sound good. And then once you have your audio recorder for your voice and you have your audio recorder for your computer output, and that's only if you're gonna like walk through what's in the computer. If I wanted to use an instrument, then I would need another recorder or input to go into the computer. So that's 3 pieces of equipment that this thing will replace. All of that stuff, then trying to line it up afterwards in the computer as 3 different sources, trying to line up the audio things, it just ended up taking a lot more time. Whereas this thing will record every input, including the computer, as a separate input or as a separate track to separate files. So you can go back and mix them later or take out things later if you want. And it will also make a stereo track as well, another stereo track, just everything mixed together, however you have it mixed here. So if you get your mix right and you like it as you do it live, then you don't have to go back and edit everything together and make everything line up. You can use that stereo output just like a normal mixer, normal 2-channel recorder. Or if you say, I want to have the control of being able to take out certain sounds or whatever, turn off the bass track later when I don't want it going in or whatever, you can do that so that because you have all of the inputs separately. So this thing gives you really a lot of control, as well as, it's got a bunch of the normal mixer stuff in here. It's got EQ and some effects and all that kind of stuff. And that's really cool. I had not really planned on using it in that way very much, but maybe if I get into a podcast at some point in the future, then I'll definitely be using this piece of equipment. The other cool thing about the fact that it uses only this 1 amp at 5 volts or whatever, it'll run on AA batteries. Not only that, it'll run on a USB power pack, like a phone charger. So you can take this anywhere, and it will run off the computer power. Like plugging it into the computer powers it. So you don't need an extra power plug. So this really, really streamlines a lot of things, a lot of possibilities into one piece of equipment. And that's why I purchased it, because I want to be able to just set up. And it will save presets, by the way. So I can set it up one time with, say, I plug in my condenser microphone for my voice. I plug in I set it up to get the computer inputs, and I plug in a guitar or bass or whatever, and then I mix them all to the levels that I'm normally happy at, and then I record something, I can save that as a preset in here and go back to that preset anytime. So I can, and then I can take this somewhere else, you know, because it all fits right here. It's all tiny. I can take this to another location. I'm going to take it up to my dad's house, and we're going to record some music up there. I think like a trio, him, myself, and another friend of ours. And then I can bring it back home and push a button, and it's set back to the settings that I'm happy at, which is really convenient. Oh, and one other really cool thing about this, if you're a musician and you think that maybe at some point you might be wanting to record multiple musicians, the one thing that we're always having trouble with in studios and kind of always wish we had was separate mix outs, meaning separate headphone mixes, so that every musician gets the mix that they need to be able to hear themselves right in the group. And this will actually do that. This has 4 headphone outputs up here, and you can select whether you want them to all be the same mix as the master output, or to have their own mixes. So that's a really cool feature here that I didn't think I would be using, because I plan to use this only in my studio and, you know, for making videos and stuff. But then as soon as I told my dad that I was getting this piece of equipment, he said, "Okay, cool, let's book a recording session." And immediately was like, "Oh, great! Now I'm glad that this has that, so I can just go and record the 3 of us and get us exactly the sounds that we want in headphones." This thing is, as you can see, it's a little bit, you know, big for like a travel recorder. If you're, you know, wanting to really be able to take things on the airplane and stuff, you can do it. It's, you know, it'll fit in a bag. It's not like monstrous, but it is a little bit sizable compared to some of their other options. Like I have a video about the Zoom F1, which is absolutely minuscule, little tiny thing. So it's not the most portable option ever, and it doesn't have a microphone. It doesn't have the talkback mic. I wish it did. It doesn't have a microphone built in, but this is infinitely more capable of doing different things than most of Zoom's other pieces of equipment, simply because they've put in the brains of a bunch of their contemporary, you know, audio interfaces and audio recorders into a box, a form factor that allows all sorts of different configurations. I'll be using this on basically every video that I do from here forward, breaking down music or demonstrating music or showing music, simply because of how easy this thing makes everything, how streamlined in one piece of equipment everything becomes. So if you're a YouTube creator, or you're a musician who's wanting a very flexible way to work in the future, you might think about looking into one of these things. So, yep, that's it. I'm really excited about getting this thing set up and starting using it. So I'll talk to you guys a little bit later.